Today, we're digging into Kai Bird and Martin Sherwin's incredible biography, American Prometheus. But here's the thing. We're not just going to talk about J. Robert Oppenheimer, the man. We're going to look at the massive, world-altering systems that he helped create, and that, in the end, kind of consumed him. So yeah, let's get into it.
And we have to start with the man himself, right? And what a thing to say about yourself. From the get-go, Oppenheimer was just full of these deep contradictions. He was this unbelievable genius, but he was also, deeply insecure. A creator who was haunted by what he made. This quote, it really gives you a peek into that complicated mind at the heart of our story.
And this is the core idea for our entire discussion today. Oppenheimer's story isn't just about splitting the atom. It's about setting off an institutional chain reaction, one that welded science, government, and the military together into a brand new kind of power that, let's be honest, is still shaping our world right now.
Okay, so to understand any chain reaction, you've got to look at the fuel first. For Oppenheimer, that fuel was this really unique mix of ethics and education that basically primed him to change the world, but maybe not for the world he would end up making.
See, Oppenheimer wasn't raised in a typical religion. He was a product of something called the Ethical Culture Society. And their whole deal was deed, not creed. In other words, what you do matters way more than what you believe. It was a system that was all about thinking for yourself and feeling a real sense of responsibility for society.
So this wasn't just about learning facts and figures. It was like an education in idealism. They were trying to create reformers, people who could look at the world and imagine how it could be better, and then actually go out and build it. This idea, this ethical imagination, it got baked right into Oppenheimer's identity. He had this deep-seated belief that people had a duty to step in and shape history.
Well, that idealism was about to slam right into the harsh reality of a world at war. And that collision, that's what sparked the second chain reaction we're talking about, the creation of the Manhattan Project. A totally new kind of institutional machine.
And the challenge was just immense. I mean, this wasn't just a physics puzzle. It was a chemistry puzzle, an engineering nightmare, a logistical monster. The only way to solve it was to build a system that was kind of like a controlled nuclear reaction itself. Perfectly engineered to create a very specific, incredibly powerful result under unbelievable pressure. The design for this system was actually pretty simple, but boy was it powerful. Step 1. Get all the smartest scientists on the planet and stick them in one place. Step 2. Put them all under a single military-style command. Step 3. Give them a blank check from the federal government. And Step 4. Just get rid of any red tape or rule that slows them down. It was a recipe for breakthrough innovation on a scale nobody had ever seen. So here's the crucial part, this fusion. Before the war, universities, the military, federal funding, they were all pretty separate worlds. Now, they were melted together into one single machine. And that changed everything for the scientists. The whole incentive structure just flipped. The goal wasn't open discovery and publishing papers anymore. It was top secret, mission-focused production for the government.
The bomb was the goal of that controlled reaction, right? But here's the wild part. After the war ended, the institutional reaction didn't power down. It sped up. It went critical.
You'd think that the machine built for the emergency of World War II would be dismantled, but no. It just found a new emergency to feed on, the Cold War. Instead of shutting down, it grew, powered by this new logic of a never-ending conflict. And this created a feedback loop, right? The arms race needed a bigger bureaucracy, and the bigger bureaucracy justified a bigger arms race.
As the physicist Victor Weisskopf put it, the war had proven, in the most brutal way possible, just how powerful science really was. This shot scientists to a whole new level of fame and influence, but it also chained them more tightly than ever before to the goals of national security and the military.
And this self-fueling system is exactly what President Eisenhower later warned everyone about. Inside this new complex, your funding, your career, your reputation, it was all tied not to pure, curious discovery, but to how useful your work was for military strategy. Science became a tool of the state in a way it had never, ever been before.
So, what happens when the guy who designed the system doesn't quite fit in it anymore? Well, Oppenheimer, the architect, he eventually became a bug in the code. And the system started a process to correct that bug.
Now, we usually see Oppenheimer's security hearing in 1954 as this
personal tragedy, right? A great man's fall from grace, a witch hunt. But what if we look at it through a systems lens? When you do that, it starts to look less like a personal attack and more like a regulatory mechanism. The system was just enforcing its new rules.
Think about it. All the things that made Oppenheimer a great scientific leader, his complexity, his moral second-guessing, his push for international control of nuclear weapons, those were now seen as bugs, as liabilities. The security state he helped build demanded black and white certainty, and he was all shades of gray. His old political friends became the perfect excuse to push him out.
And the result of that hearing sent a cold, hard message to every scientist in the country. And that message was crystal clear. We want you as an expert on how to build things, but you are no longer invited to the table to discuss whether we should build them. The age of the scientist as a public intellectual, well, it was over.
And this brings us right to the crisis in perception that our show is all about. It's what happens when we focus so much on the individual character that we completely miss the institutional architecture that's shaping everything around them.
Oppenheimer wasn't just acting on his own. His choices were influenced by, and then in turn influenced, this incredibly complex and interconnected structure, a web of scientific discovery, military strategy, political beliefs, bureaucratic pressures, and just plain old public fear. To see him as just a lone, tragic genius is to miss the bigger picture.
So which was he? A tragic genius or a product of the very system he created? The real answer, of course, is that he was both. But the real tragedy isn't just one man's downfall. It's seeing how a system, running on its own set of incentives, can lead to outcomes like a permanent arms race that maybe no single person ever really wanted in the first place.
And that's really the bottom line. In physics, you can stop a chain reaction with control rods. You can shut it down. But an institutional chain reaction, it just keeps going, as long as the incentives, the fear, the money, the power are there to keep it running. And that is the powerful and frankly unsettling legacy of the world Oppenheimer helped bring into being. If you'd like a deeper, systems-level analysis, see the full deep dive linked in the description.